Hello, in the Good Company podcast. Anna Malus Kitzman here with weekly dose. That's dyslexia and dysgraphia for you at the best. Switching up syllables. That's what it is. I love it. I love it. My daughter has the same thing, and she says, for example, instead of chipotle, she says pochitle. And then instead of technology, she says canology. And then couple others, but I love it. Anyway, weekly dose of inspiration, motivation, and thought provocation of life, all with the intention for you and me to have more beautiful, more aligned, more juicy life, more full life. Anything and everything I learned along the way here helps me. I want to share with you. Okay, so today I was very inspired by my coffee last week, a few weeks ago with my friend, and I was very inspired about idea of gossip. So let's talk about gossip. So let's start from the beginning. So my story with the gossip started because years back I decided this. I just felt always that gossip like makes me feel after not good, and I didn't want to do it anymore. I didn't want to talk about other people. I really wanted to focus on building life, ideas, the world, experiences. If I talk to other person, each other, and really didn't want to engage in gossip anymore of any kind. But you know how it is. Like we are people, right? Like we are people. So some time ago, I had a coffee with my friend, and we gossiped a little about somebody. And again, the same feeling pop up, but the solution came, very great solution came that I used. And I used once or twice before. I use it when I have like thoughts about somebody that are not the kindest, but this time we kind of used together after we gossip, and I'm going to share it. And this is a great antidote for not great energy of gossip, but we're going to talk about it too, about energy of gossip. But before we start that, when I was doing research for this episode, it's fascinating that I found out that actually gossip, which comes from the Old English word gossip, which means sponsor or godparent, which meant, in the past time, it was a friend, acquaintance. It usually, actually, until like 1500, which is so interesting, gossips were women who gathered during other women's birth, and they were meant to support, to positive mental and physical support at the birth. Obviously, gossip in the old times was actually initially were used as form of communication, right? So gossip wasn't something negative. It was something that was used kind of like a news to spread their word around villages and towns, right? And also to protect each other from potential like people predators and people who are not the best people. So initial idea of gossip was very actually positive and very, very much so involved with women who were kind of sharing this gossip information. Again, it wasn't yet negative. It didn't have any period of negative connotation. They were just sharing information that were helpful to all the village, that were helpful to like women in delivery, etc. So that was fascinating for me, that initially this gossip was actually something very positive. But as the society and we as people grew, as the need for privacy changed and cultural norms changed, in 15th century or 15th century, 16th century, the gossip started getting this negative pejorative meaning of spreading rumors, negative stories about somebody, etc. Which is very interesting because that really aligns with church really pushing for this new idea and role of a woman in a society as a homemaker, as a mother only, right? So I found it really, really interesting that around the same time when something that women were used as their power, communication, in exchanging information, was transitioned for them to something negative, right? Oh, they are gossiping right now. And as they were put in the new position of, being at home, and caring for home, and that idea of women was glorified by and promoted by church. Interesting, right? But again, so fascinating, this initial positive connotation and positive origin of gossip. And what is also important to mention, let me just look at my notes here. From a psychological standpoint, right? Like even in initial history and origin of gossip, it was very much so created and used to build safety, to build bond between people, right? Like even of today, like don't you feel that we are bonding when we are gossiping about somebody, right? Like it's kind of this our little twisted bond. So it has this kind of like a stabilizing even at today, this element. But from this historical standpoint, it was very much so to the origin was to build safety. Spreading this information across village was like very safe for safety, done for safety and security reason. But again, today it is this element of kind of a twisted bonding. But also, I also thought about gossip from the perspective of, like when we love in life to put this mask of like villain or the villain less often, but hero or a victim, right? We usually as humans, and I did it for years, I'm really aware and like trying to look at it and watch out for it, but we like to take this mask like, oh, we are in the stories or a hero or a victim, even the one that we tell ourselves, right? And especially that comes out when we gossip, because when we gossip, right, we talked about somebody from perspective we are the hero and they did this and this. We're overall a hero too, but we also sometimes are a victim because they did this and this and this to us. And it's like a really interesting way we express this this kind of masks and position like we love to engage in, right? Like we love to and also I'm reading this book now that talks about it all. Also, we sometimes take a head of villain, we are a villain in certain stories, which also gives us this certain element of safety, security and stability, right? Like being a hero or being a victim. But that's really interesting, right? Like each time we gossip, notice yourself. You tell the story about other person, or you are a victim of the person, or you are a hero in this situation. Even if you are a victim, you are also a hero in this situation. So that is really something to point out and watch out for. And then, from my perspective, energetical perspective, which I love, that's why I stopped engaging in gossip, because I think it's just such a waste of energy. And there's so many other beautiful things to talk about in life. And obviously, like sometimes I slip up like everybody else, but I watch out for it because I really always feel like dirty and not good about myself and sluggish and and tired after gossiping at somebody. Like I feel like the energy is dirty. And recently my Kabbalah teacher was talking about energy of gossip and like gossip overall, and it was fascinating to hear that perspective, Kabbalah perspective, because according to Kabbalah, when you gossip to somebody about somebody, you actually give them the power. If you gossip about them negatively, you give them this power, you triple this power of their negativity, but overall their power, you give away your power. So it's, for me, like that's why I feel so tired and sluggish and my vibration is lower, because I gave it away after gossiping about somebody. So watch out for that. If you feel tired and not good and feel energy is dirty after, it's because you gave it away to that person. You actually build that person energy that you gossiped about. And is this what you really want to do? And wait, there was one more thing about gossiping and giving energy away. Yeah, definitely there is something about, and on the other side, if we talked positively about it, somebody, we actually build that energy. That's also according to Kabbalah, and you can feel it, right? Like, let's say you see somebody and you say, oh my God, she was so smart, she was so beautiful, she was so balanced, and her energy was amazing. And you literally feel like those, the same qualities are kind of charged in you, right? Because according apparently to Kabbalah, when you speak not positively about somebody, then you receive and build up those energies within you. So that's a trick too. And that brings us to final point of this podcast, which is when we're gossiping with my friend, we gossip about the person, which kind of was an exchange of information that was needed at that point, I think more, but still felt like gossip. And we talked about when we are gossiping, while we are gossiping, that we hate gossip. So then by the end of conversation, we are like, okay, let's list 3 to 5 qualities of that person we were talking about that are really nice and positive. And you know what? I feel like all this negative talk, negative talk before, gossipy talk, was actually cancelled and evened out with this positive qualities we found in that person after having this conversation. And actually, the energy after felt really good because we kind of like even out, like we said some not that great things and stories, shared stories, and then we kind of even out with something positive. I use it a lot if I have some negative things about somebody. Sometimes like in your family, somebody's just like drive you freaking nuts, and you are like, instead of just like thinking something bad, you're like thinking like, oh my God, I learned from you so much. I learned how to be organized, how to network, how to whatever, and like I'm sending you love. So instead of like having this negative thoughts about somebody, which is gossiping with yourself about somebody, when you think about it, you kind of like, okay, let me just focus on something positive in that person. So I use that way. But I think it was a very helpful way. Again, it's not like I'm encouraging, okay, gossip, but then also always exchange some positive information after. But if that happens, you can use that to even out that energy. So again, we are all humans, but just a reminder that energy of gossip is not positive, it's not good. I feel it in my body. It's not building, it's not recharging, it's not creating. It's a dark energy, it's a sluggish energy, it's not positive energy. So let's avoid that. If we do that, we have a trick, switching to some positive compliments. But overall, let's talk about life ideas, growth, our own emotions, our own lives as much as possible. That's it for today. I'm also recording a little video here for my fans, I like to say, for my fans. So until the next time, love, light, and slightly bit of gossip shadow.